Federico, we are back for our recap episode of App Stories, recapping WWDC. And this episode is brought to you by Devin Think, One Blocker, and Pillow. How you doing?
I'm looking at you. So I think
know
I'm doing
this is a little
better
strange.
than usual.
We're doing something a little different. We're recording live on Instagram. We're not recording on Instagram. We're looking at each other on Instagram, and a lot of people are looking at us.
Yes, people are looking at us. We're looking at each other. But the show, I mean, technically it's happening on Instagram, but we are recording as usual. So if you are a usual App Stories listener, you will be able to get this episode as normal in your podcast client of choice.
Yes.
But if it happened to be logged in on Instagram on Friday night, watching two guys talk about the operating system of your iPhone, hey, you're watching this live. So good job.
Two very tired guys. It's been a long week, but it's been a fun one.
I'm not tired.
No, I know. You're just a tough guy. You've been saying that all week.
I told you I can go for another week. Make WWDC 2 weeks. I mean.
All right. Maybe they will sometime. Maybe they will.
All right. So
All
John,
right.
Tell me, we're going to do like some sort of second impressions of iOS because we've done our first impressions already.
Right.
So we installed iOS, at least I installed iOS 15, iPadOS 15 on Monday night on my iPhone
very
and
daring
iPad.
of you.
I needed some instructions from you and Steven on how to install Monterey.
macOS. Yeah, it's not that hard, Federico. But I was a little concerned that you're going to screw up your one and only Mac in your house. I guess you got Sylvia's as a backup. But
Well, yeah, I can use her MacBook, but like it was just a matter of disk utility asking me stuff like you need a partition GUID. I don't know what it.
Yeah, what
was all
kind do you
about.
want and all that stuff. Yeah.
I got WatchOS 8 on my main watch.
You do?
I do. Oh man, I do. I'm
Look
not
at
sure.
you.
Again, I'm not sure what's new on it.
You can do Tai Chi now.
Sure, and I can do. I can actually do a Pilates workout on the Apple
Is this
Watch.
going to put Sylvia out of business? I hope not.
That's not how it works.
Oh, okay.
Also,
She's
in
been
the other
Sherlocked.
room.
I know she is. She heard me say that. I know.
So let's talk iOS. So do you have iOS 15 on your iPhone, John?
I do not. I actually don't have
Oh.
I don't have WatchOS or iOS yet. I have iPadOS on my 12.9-inch 2018 iPad because my new iPad Pro hasn't arrived yet. It's coming on Monday.
Okay.
And I've got macOS Monterey on that iMac in the background there, that
Okay.
M1 iMac. So that's
Okay.
all I've been playing with so far. And I don't feel like I'm missing anything yet with the phone, but I'll probably go there over the weekend. I just didn't feel like I wanted to do that in the middle of all of our coverage.
Okay, that makes sense. So I have it on my phone on a 12 Pro Max. I'm actually going all in on like my primary devices, just using the latest betas there. So I think iOS 15 is a little interesting because with iOS 14 last year, it seemed like they had so many features that could sort of push regular people. So like my friends, some of them probably watching this right now and getting real bored by this tech talk.
Probably.
But what I mean is, I think like iOS 14 did a lot of things right in terms of convincing people to upgrade.
Right.
With widgets, basically.
Yeah, the widgets was the big thing.
Widgets was the big thing. And I saw so many of my friends just saying, I want to get the latest update because I want to get my custom home screen. Right.
Right.
And initially I thought, oh, cool. Like normal people have discovered widgets and shortcuts. But there was something more than that. I think in hindsight, you can see why personalization was such a big deal last year. And this was sort of like a theme that I suggested in my iOS 14 review. Sort of, we were using our phones so much last year during the pandemic.
Right.
And here in Italy, we had the first lockdown and a second lockdown a few months later. And our phones just became so essential, like even more so than before, for communication, for watching movies, just hanging out on Instagram, all kinds of things.
Right.
And so personalization, it goes without saying that if you're using your phone a lot, you want to make sure that it's really yours, right?
Right.
And so that's why I think, at least part of the reason why having a custom widget, having a custom wallpaper was such a big deal for a lot of people. And I thought, well, Apple must have noticed, right? That these features are so successful.
Right.
And I was sure, and that is actually why I lost my the game that we do on my other show, Connected.
Call you Mr.
The
Widget. Wally Widgets is your name.
look, I went all in on widgets, right? And that was the problem. But I was sure that with iOS 15, they would do even more, right? That they would do more widgets, more customization, more wallpapers. But no custom. So nothing is changing there. So
yeah, it's surprising. It's surprising to me. It really is. I mean, customization was a big deal last year, and it was incredibly popular. And you see Android going that direction now too. They're all in on the customization, and hardly anything has changed this year. Now we'll get to the iPad in a little bit, and a little bit has changed there, but nothing fundamental has changed. We don't have interactivity. We don't have new sizes. We don't have easy ways to customize your icons. We don't have any of that stuff that we were thinking might come. This episode of App Stories is brought to you by DevonThink from Devon Technologies. Whether you're in the harbor or on the high seas, you need to know where you are and where you're sailing. If you have all the maps, books, and documents, DevonThink for Mac and DevonThink to Go for iOS will not let you down on your mission and help you navigate the 7 seas of information. Jokes aside, DevonThink helps you get organized in your office, home office, or on the go. Everybody has loads of documents, bookmarks, notes, snippets, and it's hard to keep track of everything. That's unless you use DevonThink, which elegantly handles all of that and a whole lot more in one neat, tidy, and organized place. Organize everything in whatever way that makes sense to you, letting DevonThink's unique AI assist you all the way with filing and finding. And if that wasn't enough, smart rules and flexible reminders lets you delegate all the boring, repetitive daily tasks to DevonThink 2. Also on iOS, you can use shortcuts actions to integrate DevonThink to Go with your other apps. Of course, whatever you keep in your databases remains yours. It's all stored locally. Nothing is uploaded anywhere unless you say so. The app's flexible synchronization technology uses strong encryption to make sure you have all your important documents with you on whatever device you're working on or taking with you, and it's all stored securely. Use iCloud, Dropbox, or any web dev service, or synchronize directly over your local network. And of course, there's so much more, from email archiving and scanning to an embedded web server for sharing your data securely with your team. Listeners of App Stories can get 10% off on DevonThink 3 or upgrades by going to devontechnologies.com/appstories. Again, that URL is devontechnologies.com/appstories. Our thanks to Devon Technologies for their support of the show.
I'm trying to understand, what's a good way for me, because I know this is going to happen. There's going to be a friend of mine who's going to come to me and say, hey, so what's new in iOS 15? Mm-hmm. And that's going to happen in a couple of weeks, usually.
Right.
And I think there's really 2 ways to describe, maybe three ways to describe iOS 15 to regular people. One of those 3 features, is likely gonna get old pretty fast, maybe. So I think I would start with Focus and the new notification stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really interesting because it's a really easy feature to sell. So the idea is that with Focus, you will be able to make... This is the way that I've been describing the feature to Sylvia. Usually Sylvia is like my guinea pig for explaining features to people. Right. And I see if an idea resonates with her, then it's usually a good way to talk about it. So the idea is you can make your own Do Not Disturb. That's the way that I've been describing it. You can make your own Do Not Disturb with your own rules for your own things. So, for example, I want to make my own Do Not Disturb for when I'm at work. And I want to make my own Do Not Disturb for when I'm at the gym or when I'm walking the dog or when I'm doing a podcast like this one.
Right.
And the idea is you can give it a name, right? But also you can set some specific filters for it. So you can do things like when I'm at work, I just want to be notified by my partner and my kids if something happens. And I want to get notifications. This is something that I've done. I want to get notifications from the Home app, right? So that if my camera picks up something, for example, I can be notified by the Home app.
Right.
But I can also make a focus that says, when I'm at work, hide all of my personal apps and just show me one page of the home screen, right? You can do that kind of thing.
Right.
And so that sort of opens the door to this idea of, on your iPhone in iOS 15, you can make multiple pages on the home screen. for different moments of your life, which I think is a real compelling feature to explain to people and say, this is your personal home screen, this is your work home screen, and you just need to set up a focus. And when you activate it, your phone will dynamically switch to show you that set of apps or that set of widgets.
Right. And that's a feature that I think works really well, both for people working from home, like the two of us, or going back to an office. So it's one of those features that I think kind of spans the pandemic lifestyle, basically, where, maybe you're working from home for the last several months, and now, and that's hard because, you have time when you're stuck at home, you've got your family with you, and in the evening, you want to shut off those work apps. Or during the middle of the day, you have to have those work apps there, and you don't want to be disturbed by other things. And so that works really well from home, but it also works very well if you're going into an office as well. So I think this is a good feature, and I'm looking forward to giving it a try.
Yeah. And I think it'll be interesting to see what people do with the shortcuts integration. So the idea is when I set up a focus, when I activate a focus, when I say I'm at work, you can do a shortcut that runs some actions automatically. So that'll be interesting. But I think for most people, the easy way to use it is just get started by setting up a focus for work and a focus for, I'm walking the dog, for example. And that's an easy way to get started.
And also set statuses. I think setting statuses will be good too.
All right. Yes.
That's a signal to people contacting you. They might get on messages and see that you're working or you're working out.
Right.
Not a good time to contact me. I think that'll be good. And I'm going to be really paying close attention to what third-party apps integrate, that sort of thing.
Right, because the folks like the likes of Slack, for example, and Discord and WhatsApp, we'll see about WhatsApp.
Yeah.
But in theory, these companies, they can read your status. And so on WhatsApp, in theory, if they add support for it, you will be able to see, oh, John is at work, or Federico doesn't want to be disturbed because he's recording a podcast. So maybe my mom will finally stop calling me when I'm recording.
In the middle of shows.
In the middle of shows.
Yeah.
The second feature that I want to talk about is SharePlay.
Okay.
So SharePlay, it was demoed by Apple as, this is one of those features that I called a pandemic feature, right? So it's the idea that you will be able to watch a movie or a TV show or listen to an album over FaceTime with some of your friends and family.
Did you see that Guy Rambo got this working with his WWDC app?
So that's what I was getting at.
Okay, I knew you were going there.
So Apple demoed the feature as, we cannot spend time together anymore. And how many times have you found yourself wishing you could watch a movie or a TV show with a friend of yours? Mm-hmm. And now you can do so over FaceTime. Which I think, right? It makes for a very nice demo, and you can watch a movie, works with Apple Music, and you can do screen sharing. And honestly, screen sharing is like one of those features that I've always wanted to have.
Yeah, for tech support type stuff will be good.
Exactly, for tech support. So I'm glad that it's finally here. But I don't know. Personally, now that we're finally starting, with the vaccinations finally picking up here in Italy, it feels like that kind of stuff is more of a 2020 thing. Hopefully, ideally, we will be able to continue hanging out in person with our friends. And sure, there's going to be folks who want to watch a movie over FaceTime with their parents, with their family, because they don't, they live in different countries or different regions, right? So there's always going to be a legitimate use case for that kind of stuff. But it feels more like a last year type feature. But I think it's interesting that developers will be able to use SharePlay. So I wonder if maybe, and I'm sure, John, you've thought of this already, if maybe there's a gaming angle here. Like,
there could be.
In theory, you will be able to play games on your iPhone and iPad over SharePlay.
Yeah, that's an interesting angle. Another one I think is education. Anybody who's doing maybe tutoring for students or teaching classes in small settings, small group settings, that might be the kind of thing you could use it for. Or you're a consultant, for instance. And I'm thinking kind of in the tech sphere here. Maybe you're showing off the design of a website to a client or something like that. There's a lot of little things that could be done like that I think could make it useful beyond just watching movies and listening to music together.
Right. Yeah, the education angle is interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
I just don't know how if it can support a large enough group. It might have to be more like tutoring in small group settings. And that does raise the question that I do wonder how well this is going to work. I mean, we saw what it was like when Apple updated the group FaceTime stuff, and that took a long time to get right. And, it got a little delayed, I believe, too. And I wouldn't be surprised if this didn't come out with the initial release in the fall.
Chris in the comments says co-shopping in Safari, which that's a great idea. It's a throwback to the original Apple TV announcement when they showed off and now you could do some shopping on your television.
Well, you say that, but they did the thing this year where you can use Touch ID and Face ID to log into apps on your Apple TV, so you can do that. You can buy your jeans on TV now
with other people, even so.
With other people along for the ride.
FaceTime, yes.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't know. We'll have to see about that. I think the gaming and the education angles are interesting. Watching movies over FaceTime. I mean, sure. I mean, we're gonna have to try that for science, but some of these feels pretty late. But I think the technology will still be interesting if developers adopt it.
We talked about watching some bad American TV sometime for the Club Mac Stories Unplugged episode, and we could do it with this. This would be a good way to test it.
We should do that. Yes, I agree. That's a great idea.
This episode of App Stories is brought to you by OneBlocker. OneBlocker has been the premier content blocker for Safari for years, blocking more than just ads. The app includes options to block annoying social badges, comments, pop-ups, and a long list of other things. With the latest version of OneBlocker, the app extends its protection beyond the browser to apps. According to Apple, the average app on your iOS device has 6 trackers. With its latest release, OneBlocker can now block known trackers in the background on your device so nothing is sent from your device through any tracker servers. It's an important addition to OneBlocker, transforming the app from one that protects your web browsing to one that protects you across all of your apps. That's a really big deal. The process of setting everything up is incredibly simple, with OneBlocker walking you through every step with clear, concise instructions. OneBlocker is a universal purchase on the App Store, which means a subscription to the app works across all of your devices, iPhone, iPad, and Mac. OneBlocker is free to download and try with premium features costing $2.99 per month or $14.99 per year, with a lifetime purchase option available too. The subscription supports family sharing, so one subscription can be used by you and 5 family members. However, for a limited time, listeners of App Stories can go to oneblocker.com/appstories to receive 1 month of OneBlocker Premium for free. So don't delay. Visit oneblocker.com/appstories to get 1 month free and start protecting everything you do on your iPhone, iPad, and Mac. That's the number 1, blocker.com/appstories for a free month. OneBlocker. Remove ads, trackers, and browse faster. Our thanks to OneBlocker for their support of the show.
All right, third and last feature I want to mention about iOS 15, and then we're just going to show off a bunch of toys that I want to show off here. And I know that John does as well.
Yes.
Live text in the camera.
Yeah, this is fascinating. I've seen some developers already doing really neat things with it on Twitter today.
Yes. So this is, I think, the easiest feature to explain in iOS 15. And it's very simple. You just say, you grab your camera, you point it at some text. Can be a whiteboard, can be a flyer, can be a document. And you see the yellow rectangle. That means it recognizes text. You click a button, it freezes the frame, and you can select that text. And when you demo that feature in person, it's really impressive. Not just the first time that you see it, it's always impressive, right? The idea that the camera, it's basically the Apple version of what's it called? Google Lens, right? Google does this on Android.
Right. Yep, they do.
So it's not like they're breaking any new ground necessarily, but I think what's fascinating is all the integrations that you have.
And it's being done on device, which is kind of the theme of all of Apple's machine learning stuff, which is good. I mean, all that text, Google will get all that information on its servers. That's not happening with Apple. I mean, that doesn't bother me that much for things like Lens, but it is something that's important to a lot of people.
Right. I mean, it's not Google, so that's good enough for a lot of people.
Right.
So, but what I think it's really impressive here is that when you freeze the frame and you're capturing text from the camera, you can select the text and you can copy the text, but you can also do some real fancy sort of actions with it. You can share the text with extensions. So you can do things like, let me recognize this text, bring up the share sheet, and send it over via WhatsApp to somebody else instantly just by using the WhatsApp extension. Or you can do things like, let's say that, I can travel again, right? I go somewhere, I don't understand what I'm looking at. There's maybe a street sign or something, and I just want to translate it. Well, now you can just point the camera at it with your iPhone running iOS 15, and you freeze the frame, and right there you will see a translate button inside the camera, and that will let you in real time translate to a different language what you're looking at, which I think maybe not as technically impressive as Google doing the image replacement on screen with Google Lens. Right. But again, it's done on device, right? And it's done by your iPhone. That information never leaves your device, and it stays within the camera. And I think when you consider all these integrations and the fact that live text, you will be able to use it in quick look previews. So like somebody sends you a photo on iMessage, you can open the photo and you can select text right there. Or it even works in Safari. So like you can do things like in Safari web pages, you see a photo, you see a screenshot with some text. You can select the text in a
in the live web page.
Like you go to macstories.net and you find the screenshot that's got some text in it. You can actually select the text.
That's pretty amazing. That is really amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. It's interesting to me. I think there are a bunch of apps that could really make good use of this. And one of them that comes to mind immediately is like BookTrack, because it already has it already has, built into it the ability to take screenshots of real, paper books and then OCR that and store those quotes. But this would, I think, make that whole system a lot easier and a lot faster. But I do think there's enough detail and depth to this feature in iOS 15 that it's probably going to Sherlock a bunch of scanning apps and some of the apps that did something very similar to this. There are utilities that are designed not so much to capture pages. This is not really a scanning app per se, but there are other apps out there that were designed mainly to capture things like business cards or small snippets of text.
Yeah, and also I think there's an important accessibility angle here. Like it allows a lot of people. NC Remins in the chat says like that'll be useful for people who share screenshots of text on Twitter. And absolutely, I mean, if Twitter adds support for that, you will be able to select and maybe read out loud or translate text from a screenshot on Twitter just by using live text. So there's all kinds of potential use cases for this, and I think this is it makes for an easy demo of iOS 15,
right.
But it's also one of those things where I want to see what developers do with this, and I want to see just how deep into it's a deep and open framework, you could say. How many integrations it's got.
It is. Boy, that's a call back to episode 1, isn't it? Back in the Timer Qualising days.
No, it's a little bit later than that because
is it? Okay.
It was about the iMessage App Store when we talked about it on Connected.
Right.
In the days of iOS 10. So iOS 10 was
2017? 2016? I don't even know anymore.
I don't know.
This episode of App Stories is brought to you by Pillow. More and more studies show that getting a good night's sleep can improve your health and well-being in more ways than you could ever imagine. Pillow is a simple app that can help you be more aware of your sleep patterns and make informed decisions to improve your sleep quality. All you have to do is wear your Apple Watch while you're sleeping. Pillow will track and analyze your sleep automatically and give you a full report in the morning. If you want to use Pillow with just an iPhone or an iPad, you can do that too. with the press of a button before going to sleep. If you have an Apple Watch, you can also get important information about your heart rate trends, variability, heart rate dip, and blood oxygen levels during each sleep session. You can even record sounds like sleep talking, sleep apnea, and snoring, or other noises that might be affecting your sleep. A lot of users have been surprised by the results. If your Apple Watch is Series 6 or newer, Pillow will also display information about the intensity of sounds during each sleep session and give you a rating of that exposure. Another valuable aspect of Pillow is helping you make informed decisions to improve your sleep. Pillow comes with a dedicated section where you can discover trends, get personalized insights, sleep tips, and easily compare your sleep metrics with your weight, steps, caffeine consumption, and a whole lot more. If you want to wind down and relax before sleep or listen to something through the night, Pillow comes with an expanding collection of sleeping aid sounds, guided meditations, bedtime stories, and music produced specifically for sleep. Naps boost your focus, creativity, and overall well-being. If you're working from home, you can also take naps using Pillow's Power Nap mode. Pillow can wake you up using your iPhone, Apple Watch, or iPad at the lightest possible sleep stage using a smart alarm feature. Starting from watchOS 6, Pillow's battery consumption is minimal too. Last but not least, Pillow is also very privacy-minded. All of your sleep and audio data is encrypted and stored on your device and your iCloud storage account using end-to-end encryption. You don't need to register to create an account to use Pillow. You can use it anonymously, and it doesn't collect or send your personal data anywhere else. Pillow is free to download on the App Store and comes with a set of great features that you can use for free every single day. If you want to try Pillow's premium features, there's also an option to start a free 7-day trial. Just visit pillow.app to get started. Again, that URL is pillow.app. Our thanks to Pillow for their support of the show.
All right.
What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about this little thing that I got right here. So I mentioned it before. There's Apple Music Lossless, right? And high-res lossless happening. So I got this little thing over here. This is my...
Right. This is your brand new one.
So if you're listening to the show...
He's a DAC collector. He's the DAC daddy.
That's Steven.
I know it is.
If you're listening to the show as a podcast, you obviously you cannot see what I'm showing off on video. That's why we'll try to save this live video and put it out on my profile so that for reference you can go check out what we're actually showing off on video.
Send me a picture of it too, and I can put the picture in the chapter art or something.
So this is the little DAC. See, this is a USB DAC that I can use for Apple Music, right? It's the XD05BAL. It stands for balanced. It's made by this Chinese company called Xduo. And what I really like about it, first of all, I don't know if you can pick it up from the video, but it's got these fancy buttons here.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got a display. And what's really nice about it is that this is an OLED display, right? So it looks really nice. And it shows you, now it's defaulting to the standard bit rate. But it shows you the sampling rate of your music. And what's even nicer about this purchase is that I got this very fancy orange cable.
I like your orange cable a lot. I saw that in your screenshots. Yeah,
it's an orange cable. So this is USB-C, all right, and it goes into the DAC. This is also USB-C.
Okay.
But I got this real tiny and convenient USB-C to Lightning adapter.
Nice.
It's made by this company called DD Hi-Fi. Don't ask me how I discovered these companies. I spent way too much time on the internet. Yeah, but it works totally. It's perfect for Apple Music. Now that it's got lossless and high-res lossless, this thing can support all the way up to, I don't know how many kilohertz, much higher than the limitations of Apple Music. But I really like it because it sounds great. I can plug in my balanced headphones, which you cannot see, but they're up there somewhere on my shelf.
Okay.
I can use my balanced headphones. I can use my balanced in-ear monitors, also made by Sony. So this thing goes for $400 and something. I think
it was $450. I think is what you told me. I looked it up
something like that. Something like that. So it's relatively. You can get USB DACs for much more. But I've had this thing for a while. I really like it. You can use it as a desktop DAC, which makes me wonder, like, I could see myself using this for more like desk-related podcast activities maybe in the future. It's got all kinds of I/O options. And I don't know. I have a USB Pre 2 at my desk right now, but I wonder if maybe this thing actually sounds better. So I want to see, because I could plug in, like, it's got an XLR input and everything. So
Really?
yes, it's a mini XLR, but you can get an adapter. But yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. What you got, John, for me?
All right. I've been doing some of the same sort of stuff, but
Okay.
so I've got a stereo in my living room that isn't AirPlay compatible, and it's a little older, but the speakers are really good. And so when I heard about this lossless stuff, I thought, well, that's a perfect place to test it. So I got a couple of things. First thing is, and these are both connected to a digital optical out in the receiver. So it's a Toslink cable type of fiber optic cable that you use coming out of the receiver. The first thing it goes into is this splitter thing. And let me show you this. This splitter thing, you can see it has...
Okay, that's a splitter.
So
all right.
It's got a power, and it's basically got audio in and then 3 audio out, okay? So I connect that to 2 different things. Comes out of the receiver, goes into that. One is this Belkin device.
You got it all laid out on your desk, like all these boxes.
I do. You kind of see this.
I love it.
All right. So this one's very lightweight and plasticky. Belkin makes this. It's called the Soundform Connect, and it has USB-C in, and then coming out, it has 3.5 millimeter analog jack and an optical out. So this just sits at the end of one of these digital cables, and it enables AirPlay 2 on this stereo receiver that doesn't have AirPlay 2 compatibility. So now all of a sudden it's very easy for me to, AirPlay music to those speakers. And this is about $100.
Okay.
Then I've got this. This is one of those things you go on Amazon and you find, and it's from some random company that ships it from China. It's called the Duke Audio. And this is, see that right there?
Oh, this is the wild thing.
This is the wild.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the wild thing. So this has 5-volt DC powered in and on. So let me show you this. On that side,
there he is.
It's got HDMI. It's got digital audio, and then it's got a coaxial audio. And on this side, there is that USB-B, right? The chunky USB. Right. So to make this work,
USB-B.
B, yes. It's used for things like printers and hard drives, Federico. You've used it before.
Sure, and audio, it appears.
And audio, apparently. If it's probably cheap. It's probably the license is free now. It's been around for so long. But you plug it into the wall. The digital audio goes in here.
Steven says that thing is going to burn down your house.
I know. There's little lights on here showing you whether you're getting PCM or DSD.
Does it come with the fire alarm built in?
No, it doesn't. Look on the bottom. You should see the bottom. It shows all the pins on the HDMI, so you can see exact. Okay. This thing is so ugly. I got to hide this away because it's not something you want sitting out in your living room. But the USB-B, I got myself a USB-B to Lightning cable and a USB-B to USB-C cable, so I can hook it up to both my iPhone and to my iPad Air. So that's it works. I tried it. It works really well and it sounds terrific. So the best thing about it is though the instructions it comes with that
to call emergency services.
No, there's a tip section and it's titled warm tips. These aren't hot tips. They're warm tips. It's not a very good translation, and it warns you right up front that a lot of the tips don't apply necessarily to what you bought, but to one of their other products. But it doesn't explain to you which ones apply to which device. But I got it working, so it's fine so far.
Warm tips.
That's about $50, that thing, on Amazon.
But it works, right?
Yeah, it works.
Okay.
It works. Yeah, it absolutely works. I tried a bunch of other crazy stuff too, but it was the warm tip section is really the best thing. I should probably publish the warm tips somewhere.
Man,
they're good tips
incredible.
to have.
That's honestly incredible.
You don't want cold tips, Federico,
No. Sure.
You don't want
All right.
cold. So what else you got for me?
I don't know. First of all, because we're doing this live, I guess if we got a few people watching this, which is awesome. If you have any questions about WWDC or the stuff that we use or anything, really, feel free to ask. We can do a little bit of a Q&A segment on the show. And I wish I could show you the things that I've been building in Obsidian. John.
It's coming. You've been teasing this for a very long time. I've only seen portions of it so far.
I have something else to show you, though. You know the band, the Shins? Are you familiar with?
Oh, yeah.
I got this in the mail a couple of days ago.
Oh,
so
nice.
this is the 20th anniversary remastered edition of O Inverted World, which is the
that's a great album.
Yeah, it's got the inverted cover with the inverted colors. It looks really nice. This came from I got something in the mail a couple of days ago, and I totally forgot about this because I'm a subscriber to the Shins mailing list. I'm actually also a subscriber of the record label.
You're on a lot of mailing lists. Every time I talk to you, it's another record label or artist that you've got. You're getting newsletters from her.
If there's anything that I'm never gonna be getting tired of, is discovering music and listening to
same.
Listening to old music, but also discovering new music, and that's why I subscribe to record labels. I was so happy when Apple Music added the record label pages in 14.5.
That was pretty cool.
I'm still that kind of I'm that kind of user still, so I'm pretty happy with my purchase here. Jay wants to know, John, this is for you. Jay wants to know thoughts on Swift Playgrounds being able to build and ship apps.
I think it's a big deal. I really do. I mean, it's been a long time coming. We've talked a long time about wanting to have Xcode on the iPad, and this certainly isn't that. I mean, it's definitely a beginner's tool and a simpler tool. But that said, a lot of professional developers use Swift Playgrounds too to prototype things and test out ideas. And what's nice about it is that you can do it all on the iPad now, but you can also always switch over to Xcode if you want to. And I think it's important to be able to develop and release an app on the same platform, and if nothing else, because it gives you that opportunity and that kind of vision and goal and dream to be able to build something in this tool and also offer it to other people and see other people use it. I just know from when my kids learned how to do development, they started with Xcode, which is a lot more complicated. But what was nice was the ability to, at the end of that process, to actually release an app. And back then, in 2008, what was really cool is that a developer account, with the price dropped to $100. Now, people might not remember this, but at one point, a developer account at Apple cost hundreds of dollars. I don't even remember what it was. And WWDC, the videos cost $300, $400, $500 maybe. You would buy them and they would send you DVDs in the mail months later to watch. I mean, things really changed in 2008. And I think this is another step in that direction where it's just easier to go from idea to an actual product that not only you can enjoy and show off, but that you can, distribute to your friends and family, which I think is really cool.
Michael from London. That's mine.
I'm not familiar.
Michael from London wants to know, are you surprised with the quality of Beta 1? Have you hit any issues so far?
So I have had music crash on me once or twice.
Okay.
Nothing major. I haven't had any reboots or anything like that on the iPad, but I don't have it on my phone yet. And I haven't had any big problems on Monterey either, although I haven't used it a lot because, as I said at the beginning, during WWDC, I wanted to work on a system that I knew was going to be reliable because we had a lot to do. So I'm going to be turning to that, day to day starting tomorrow.
Right.
How about you? Have you had any issues?
Couple of home screen crashes. Mostly right now I'm having this issue where something is badly screwed up in the Files app on my iPhone. I can no longer open any plain text file in Quick Look. It doesn't
It doesn't
recognize
doesn't know what plain text is anymore.
It doesn't know what plain text is. So but I think I know what, I just got to start over with this phone. I've been restoring this phone from backups from the past 4 years or something. It's time to start fresh on the phone. I started fresh with the
Yeah.
iPad last year.
Did you?
And yeah, I did.
And that helped.
And that helped for sure. And it's like I've been putting this off on the phone for a while. Now I've reached the point where something is deeply wrong on the phone somewhere, and I just want to start fresh, no backup, just start over again. Because it believes that plain text files belong to MindNode.
Really?
They have a MindNode icon, but I don't have MindNode on my phone.
Yeah, that's
So,
interesting. Huh? How about
yeah.
that? Well, yeah, I don't know. I think a fresh install is probably in the cards for you. I do that as quite a bit actually, because we put so many apps and things on our phones throughout the year that it really is just something you ought to do if you're testing that many apps. It's the same thing with the Mac. I do fresh installs with new Macs usually, and it's a pain, especially on the Mac, because there's just so much you have to log into and do. We had a question, Federico, that was whether we thought maybe QuickNote was an indication
I was looking at that. Good
that
job.
Apple is moving towards a windowed system for apps, which I think is a really interesting question. I hadn't really considered that. What do you think?
Maybe, right?
I'm not sure. I feel like you described it to me initially as picture-in-picture for notes.
I can honestly see a scenario in which people are thinking of like, oh, I want to have proper windowing on my iPad, just like I have it on my Mac. And I could
Right.
see, like, I could make a case for, well, what you say is you want to have the ability to move a window around more freely, but rather than giving you the option to resize the window like you can on the Mac, we're going to give you something similar, but it behaves like picture-in-picture.
Right.
Right.
And 2 or 3 different set sizes.
So QuickNotes in iPadOS 15 is totally picture-in-picture for text. That's what it is. You have the system-wide floating window. It's a window that supports input. This is the big difference from picture-in-picture. It supports input, and you can throw it around. It supports really the same interactions of picture-in-picture. You can fling it around the screen. You can hide it into the edge of the display. But what's really nice about it is that it's interactive, and you can type in it, you can paste text, you can add links, you can draw with an Apple Pencil. And I mentioned this I said it a couple of times this week. I just want to make sure that I drive this point home. I am convinced, I'm going to write this in the review this summer. QuickNotes is the first true post-Magic Keyboard feature of iPadOS, in the sense that it's the first feature that from the ground up, it was built with multiple inputs in mind.
Right.
The multiple inputs were not added as an afterthought after the fact. Like, this is a 1.0. It's a new feature that you can activate with the keyboard, with the Apple Pencil, via touch, in a couple of different ways, from Control Center and from Safari, right? From the very first version, it's got this unification of input methods. And so I feel like I could see a scenario in which sort of Mac-like multi-window is something similar to that, where you don't have the resize controls by the corners of the windows, but you do have something like picture-in-picture that supports like a specific set of sizes. You can throw it around, but it doesn't have the complexity of free-form multi-window on the Mac. So
I could see that. That makes some sense. I mean, I think we're always going to have a more constrained environment on the iPhone and the iPad, especially just because we're talking smaller screens, and by having that kind of consistency and those set values, it makes it easier to use in a lot of ways. So I think that's. I wouldn't be surprised about that.
One last question before we have to wrap up, because we actually have a limit of 60 minutes on Instagram.
Oh, that's true.
Live.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And also, like, this was the first time doing this. I think it was pretty well received. There was a lot of people, actually. I'm very surprised and happy about this. We got a question by M. Getsky. Where do you guys plan to put all your Mac shortcuts for easy access? I was thinking about a folder stack in the dock. John, this one is for you. Where are you going to put all your Mac shortcuts?
I think the dock is a really good place for it. I also think a couple of them I will put probably in the menu bar as well. they're, if they're file related, I guess they can go into what was quick actions in the Finder. But, I also have ones where I'll probably just open the app, because I have ones where I'm generating URLs and things like that from RSS feeds, and it's just not something I do every single day. So opening the app is not that big a deal. But I like the idea of the dock as well as the menu bar, although the menu bar is just one of those places that it gets so crowded so quickly that I think you have to be really careful about putting too much up there. I would only put things up there that really you need to get at really frequently, and when you've got a lot of windows open already, and it'd just be too much to be messing around with the Shortcuts app too on top of that.
You can use them as quick actions, right, in the Finder.
Yeah, you can. So you could do that for things like if you wanted to resize images, or you wanted to convert them from PNGs to JPEGs, things like that. Those kind of actions were already available. That Pixelmator had those, for instance, Pixelmator Photo or Pro on the Mac. But yeah, I'll probably do that.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining in on Instagram video as we did this. This was our first time doing live video for App Stories. I wish we could do it in person, That would have been fun.
Absolutely.
Maybe next year, maybe at some point in the future. Let us know what you thought of this live video. Should we do it more often? Do you like the format? Should we do it again at some point? I don't know. Maybe we'll do it again at some point. I think
this is probably an excuse for me to buy some more lights, some more equipment of different kinds,
some more computers in the background,
some more of these little black boxes. Yes, I could do all kinds of things. Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope you all like this. I'm gonna try and save the live video, put it on my profile for easier access, and let us know if you like this, and go check out all the things we did for WWDC and Mac Stories. John, I'm going to say goodbye.
I think we have to wrap up the show the normal way, Federico. I want to thank our 3 sponsors again. That is DevonThink, OneBlocker, and Pillow. You can find the 2 of us over at MacStories.net. I don't think we really necessarily have to remind people of that every week, but I like to do it. And Federico's on Twitter and this very Instagram live right now as @Viticci. That's VITICCI. And I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHWES. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.